really know what the next 5 years will look like. I mean, I guess in some ways, it's that hopes and dreams of like, well, maybe, I'll meet the one and, get married and have kids and stuff.
It's not like there haven't been interested the right one.
There have been different guys come along and ask, but yeah, it's just not, I'm not just out to get married to the first one that comes along. I mean, sometimes it can be tempting.
Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Friday, August 16th, 2024. Jana Duggar and the Duggar family have announced her wedding through none other than People magazine through an exclusive with exclusive photos of the wedding. The whole ceremony was kept hush-hush, likely because Jim Bob wanted to grab a payday for these hot photos of Jana, who has been the long-suffering daughter that wasn't able to leave her parents' home because she wasn't married. She had recently stated that she had moved out into this tiny house on the back end behind her parents' home, and she came back in like May or June. There was a lot of discussion then that something was about to drop, and here we are. So Jana did get married yesterday, so let's go into those details, and then we'll go into my thoughts at the end about Jim Bob. She got married at the Grand at Willow Springs in Prairie Grove, Arkansas, which is a relatively new establishment. And so Jana and Steven, their courtship here wasn't very long. And she actually spoke to people to kind of give us a timeline. And as I have reported in the past, they did date, and she did confirm that. She confirmed that. So in their exclusive, the title of it is Jana Duggar marries Steven Wissman in an elegant Arkansas wedding. I prayed for this for years. Okay, so in the real world, Jana at 34 getting married isn't a big deal. A lot of women in their 30s wait to get married. A lot. I was 31, I think, when I got married. So, and my husband was 38. So, or 39, 38 or 39. So there's a lot of people that wait to get married until they're older. That's not uncommon. But in the fundy world, she's like ancient. And there's a lot of pressure on women to get married young because they need to breed a baby a year and they need to have a lot of kids. So unfortunately, that stress and that shame on her of not getting married soon enough is something that has plagued her, and she does talk about this in this article. But she does say that this was a dream come true wedding, and she said that they got engaged. This is her timeline. She says they got engaged on June 15th. So they were engaged 2 months. They put this together in 2 months. They got it in front of 500 guests. Okay, Jessa is the bride's maid of honor. Abby Duggar, her sister-in-law. Joanna, her sister. Johanna, her sister. Ginger, her sister. And Jordan, her sister. So the only sisters that were not bridesmaids were Jill, Jennifer, and Josie. Okay, got it? So Jennifer, Josie, and Jill are not included. Some of my subscribers were sad to see this because if many of you remember, Jill and Jana were very, very close growing up. They were the two oldest girls, and Jana actually was Jill's maid of honor when she got married to Derek Dillard. So some people were pretty sad to see this because they were like disappointed that the relationship between Jana and Jill has basically dissolved. But I'm not surprised because if you read Jill's book, Counting the Cost, she has had to put up pretty significant boundaries between her and her siblings because she was saying that her siblings would like show up at her house and try to convince her to do things for her dad and because of her father. And Jana was one of those siblings, although she didn't name it. And she also discussed how Jana was one of the Gothard girls, and so she spent a lot of time at the IBLP headquarters. Those are the bridesmaids, and she says, I think this is what she told people about the wedding. I think it's one of those things that girls envision someday. For me, it felt like, okay, it's never coming, but now it's starting to sink in. Reality is starting to set in, and I'm like, wow, this truly is something that I dreamed of. And to just see it coming about is incredible, kind of hard to believe. It's a dream come true. She walked down the aisle to Holy, 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 and she had an off-the-shoulder satin ball gown, and her dad, Jim Bob, walked her down, and she said the dress felt classy and a bit like a princess. Now, what's interesting about her dress is that her shoulders are exposed. Her collarbone is exposed. It has a V neckline down to the cleavage, but not actually showing the cleavage, and the back is exposed down to the mid-back. This is very scandalous for a Duggar daughter. Almost all of them had their their arms covered, and her arms are completely bare. So this is a more modern dress than any of her sisters. All the other girls either had lace sleeves or cut off sleeves, and they had high collars where there was no collarbones exposed. Jessa's had a little bit, but even Jessa's dress had short sleeves on it had short sleeves that went on her shoulders. So none of the girls have had their shoulders exposed in this way. And I don't know what it is about the IBLP about shoulders, but they are dangerous apparently. So I think the wedding dress is very pretty, and I think it's very daring, and I think she looked beautiful. She said the venue is already so gorgeous and picturesque that I didn't want to take too much from that. The guys will be in black suits, the girls in champagne-colored dresses, then just white flowers and greenery. When it come to planning the nuptials, she said, coming from 2 bigger families, Wissman is one of 13. We love to be able to get together and celebrate moments like these, and so to have all of them here, it just means a lot. They've lit a unity candle. They had their dinner prepared, so Stephen's family basically cooked everything. I can't even believe they did this, because most caterers, they cooked for 500 people. Like, how long and what kind of oven do these people have that they can cook this much food, right? So she had a sit-down dinner, and they had chicken, green beans, mashed potatoes, rolls, and coleslaw. She said, because we're doing an evening wedding, I envisioned this more formal sit-down dinner. The Wissmans are incredible cooks. They're doing a full spread, and they've been working on it. And I'm like, just do it. I trust y'all. You'll make an amazing food. So her in-laws made all the food. Her in-laws have to have some kind of catering company, because I can't think of how anyone could put that amount of food together. It's wild. 500 food. You'd need to have so many ovens. That's a lot of chicken. And then she said for dessert, there was a 3-tiered cake with lemon raspberry filling. Her brother-in-law served as an MC, and they actually had a dance. There was games and activities for guests. There were toasts. They did a first dance, and she tossed her bouquet into the crowd. And yeah, so if you go to the Duggars weddings, they're very short. The Duggars don't have long weddings. There's never alcohol at them. They don't usually have like dancing for those people that are invited, because they don't believe in dancing in the IBLP. It sounds like Jana and her husband, Stephen, danced their first dance together, which is unusual. This has never happened at a Duggar wedding. There's a lot that's happening in this that makes me feel like a lot of this is a sort of signal to a lot of the criticism that Jim Bob has experienced about how strict he is with his daughters, because it seems like Jana got a lot of leniency that no one else got, right? And so now that she gets this leniency, you have to expect this is going to be the norm. Because if the other girls that got married didn't have dances, they didn't have sit-down dinners, they didn't do any of those things. They also didn't wear dresses like Jana. It's just all very odd. Anyways, back to the story. She said that she first met them when they were kids. She said they would travel and sing. I remember coming to our home probably 13 or so years ago, and they ended up getting snowed in here, which hardly ever happens in Arkansas. I remember just playing games late in the night, doing puzzles together until the snow melted off, and they were able to travel back home. I don't really remember Stephen all that well because I'm older than him, and so he was not on my radar. So obviously, y'all know back in 2021, they were dating. A few years ago, they crossed paths again and dated briefly before going their separate ways. So they broke up not long after Josh was charged and went to prison and had his conviction. Like, they were dating for a while before that, and then once he was arrested, they split. And then she said they reconnected. She said that they remained in touch, talked to each other on and off over the years. And Jana's Duggar, Jeremiah, went on to marry Hannah's sister. I know a lot of people think this is weird that 2 siblings are married into the same family, but there's only so many families in the Fundy world. It's not a huge gene pool, and so it's not uncommon for multiple siblings from big families to marry. And I think Jana and Stephen were actually dating before Jeremiah and Hannah, if I'm honest. They just happened to get married first. So apparently they reconnected earlier this year. It doesn't really say when earlier. And they said, it was like, what are we doing? We still enjoy each other. We still really appreciate each other. So they haven't been together for more than like 8 months, that's for sure. And they did this long distance. So this relationship they've been friends on and off, and they've spoken as friends for years, but they weren't together for very long. And obviously, when they have long distance, they can't spend as much time together as if they live together or live near each other. So she said that she had her guard up when it came to falling in love with him. She said, I had been a slower mover on it, but just over time, his character, his coming back, still loving me no matter what. I know we have a big, crazy family and still kind of putting up with a lot of things, like what's going on with Josh, I'm assuming. Like, my goodness, there are not too many people that can do that. He must really genuinely care about me. So it sounds like when they broke up in 2021, Steven wasn't interested in saying no, and he didn't want to resist Jana. He wanted to be there as a friend. It sounds like Steven really liked her and didn't really let go of that. And she says, it takes me a bit to open up, and I think just his continuing to be there no matter what, through ups and downs, he's been a good friend over the years and has not pressured me in a lot of ways. So they were friends, and then they got back together. She admits that watching her other siblings get married was hard on her. So she's like, I'm just like, what is it? Is it me? Do I have a problem? I know I've prayed for this for years and definitely been like, what's the matter? Why can't I just? All of my siblings, most of them have been married in their early 20s. By far, I'm the oldest, so it's been disheartening at times. So girls that are not married stay at home with their parents. So she was forced to kind of be at home with her younger sisters. And she says, I've tried to look at the positive, yet you long for that person, that someone that you can spend life with. It has been hard, but it has been good, and God's taught me a lot of it through it all. She said that they're excited to embark on their next chapter. She's moving to Nebraska. So Steven lives in Lincoln, Nebraska. He had bought a house back in September of 2023. It's a 22,000 square feet home. It's got 5 bedrooms. It's like a rambler. So she says he works in irrigation system install business along with sandblasting and painting for his dad. And it's great. We've been working. He has a little house he bought in 2023. So he bought the house in September 2023. And that we've been fixing up and getting pulled together. So that's been fun. I haven't always understood what the bigger picture is, but I know that God knows what is best for all of us. And so for me, it's getting married later. Each of our stories will be written differently. If we were all the exact same, it would be a boring life. So I think it's neat how God orchestrates. So that was one of the interviews. And I just want to kind of point out a couple things. A lot of the feedback about Jana not getting married had a lot to do with these rumors that Jim Bob wasn't allowing her to get married, that Josh's case interfered in the relationship. And it basically, without her saying it, sounds like Josh's case did interfere in that relationship. She might have perhaps gotten married earlier had Jim Bob not cooled this relationship down and basically forced her to be Anna's housekeeper and babysitter. I think that there's so much heat on Jim Bob to not keep her at home. There's been like the whole Free Jana movement. There's been her sisters saying, she should be able to move out. She should be able to have a life. There's been all of these discussions about how she was being forced to live at home. And so what Jana's doing in many ways is sort of regurgitating what her dad is saying and wants her to say, and that it's, this is just what God wanted. It wasn't what Jim Bob wanted. It was Jana that wanted her. It was God that wanted Jana to get married later, not Jim Bob. I honestly think to this day, Jim Bob interfered, and he did, but so the next story is that she actually talks about going into nursing school. So she enrolled into a community college for nursing school, and she said as she got older, she definitely had thoughts that she should be doing more with her life than what she was. And she said, I think as I got older, it definitely came on more and more, and it felt like, okay, this isn't happening. Let me figure out something else. Maybe I'm supposed to be doing something else. And part of that was she got enrolled in college, and she enrolled in nursing school. And she said that that's been another interest of mine. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is more of the calling that I would be doing, and let me just pour myself into something. and that she said she dated around, but nothing ever materialized. I'm just like, what is it? Is it me? Do I have a problem? And she said then during the second semester of nursing school, she reconnected with Wissman. So she was in school and she reconnected with him. So I don't know now if she's going to finish her nursing program because she's moving now to Nebraska. Something feels really fishy about that too. Like she was finally doing something for herself to get educated and have some independence, and now poof, she's married. Is Jim Bob involved with that? And she said, I know I prayed for this for years, and yeah, I've definitely been like, what's the matter? Why can't I just? So she kind of discussed how the fact that she wasn't able to, the fact that she got married later, she was able to do things other people aren't. She said, I've been able to connect with so many of my other siblings or friends or do things that a lot of married people have not been able to do as they've gotten married young. I tried to look at the positive, yet you long for that person, that's someone that you can spend your life with. It's been hard, but it's been good, and God's taught me a lot of it through it all. And then what is she looking forward to? She said, just doing life together with Steven and being together. It's been a challenge being long distance. So I think just being together, being able to have someone that you do everyday life, it's a sweet time that I've hoped for and wanted for a while. So Steven didn't talk at all in the interview. It was all Jana. And I really, really hope that this is her happiness. I hope that this is what she wants. I hope that she is in love. I hope that this isn't what Jim Bob does when he gets caught or busted in something, where he tries to like flip the narrative and she like try to frame things in a way to disprove what's being said about him. So I hope that they love each other. I hope she's happy, and I hope that this is what they both want. When I hear her talking about him, she is more shy, so I don't hear her saying like what she loves about him. I'm not hearing her describe how she fell in love with him. I don't even hear her say that she loves him. They might not have asked that question, but she didn't say that. And she still is very closed off and guarded about the relationship. And that could just be a factor of her not wanting to overshare. And it also could be a factor of Jim Bob forcing her to do this interview so he can get paid. And I'm sure he wanted to get paid by people, and so she has to do this interview. And he can't get paid unless she does this interview, so maybe she's only going to give a little bit of it, right? They look happy. She looks happy. He looks happy. And I think the good news is that she's going to be getting away from the family, and she'll be living in Nebraska, which will maybe give her a little bit of space to grow and learn on her own and spread her wings and expand into the things that she likes to do. I hope maybe she can finish her nursing degree. I hope this marriage wasn't a sideline to get her back out of nursing school, because the IBLP doesn't like people to be educated. They don't want women to be educated so that they can actually have a life outside of their family. But there's one thing I do think that is odd about all of it, and I think it's that everything about this is so different than every other wedding that they've had. And a lot of that feels like a response from Jim Bob to the criticism from Jill and Ginger about how strict he is about wearing pants, about their attire, about modesty, about, you know, just very conservative constructs about women, sexist constructs about women that make the daughters feel like, you know, they were getting treated differently than the boys. And, you know, Jill saying that one of the biggest fights with her dad was about wearing pants, right? And getting her nose pierced and showing their legs in shorts. So this, to have Jana in a dress where she's got an off-the-shoulder dress, it's the most immodest of all the girls, and by no means is it immodest. It's just, by Duggar standards, it's immodest. And she is, even the bridesmaids are wearing dresses that are off the shoulders. It feels like he's trying to say, no, I'm modern. I'm not controlling Jana. And I'm not, and then also the criticism that it's him that's been interfering in her ability to move on with her life, and that he's holding her back and not letting her move, so she will be the one to take care of the family. Now, I do think there's truth to that, because their youngest now is 14 or 15. So really, Michelle doesn't have much left to do. She doesn't need Jana around to care for anyone. So she can get married now. I really, 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 really hope that Jana and Steven are happy. And I really, really, really hope that they can grow and learn and get out of, you know, that structured mindset. I hope that Jana can sort of strip herself from the IBLP mentality as she moves away from it. Steven is not in the IBLP. They're Mennonite. He pastors, I think, Bible studies at the church, and then he works with his dad in irrigation and sandblasting. So they're busy, and they have a new house. They have a house that she's going to be moving to, and that's, the best I can say for Jana is that she's away from Jim Bob, and we know from history that once the girls get further away from Jim Bob, they're able to spread their wings more. I don't know what Steven's going to be like per se. I know some of his siblings that are older than him have really removed themselves from more of the strict background and are more progressive, not still conservative, but not as strict as the Wissman family, the parents. And maybe you'll see that with Jana and Steven. I mean, the fact that she's wearing a dress that's more revealing is a good sign. But again, it's also could be Jim Bob's response to the criticism. So you can decide whether it is or not. I'm skeptical, but I'm also happy. Is it weird to be in the middle like that? So what are your thoughts about all of this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, everyone.